But leadership is not always a walk in the park, okay? If it was a walk in the park, anybody could do it. But no, God has called you into a leadership position because He knows that you are worthy and that you can do this. All right, let's get back into our two-part series of 6 characteristics of a healthy work environment. And in this episode, I'll be taking you through 4, 5, and 6. So if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, where I discussed the first 3 characteristics, please head back to episode 66 because it is a prelude or a prerequisite that you listen to that one first before you listen to this second part. So please go back to that one and then come back here. All right, let's jump into part 2 of this series. Leading as a woman is tough, but leading as a woman of faith is next level. However, it doesn't have to be that way. God has called you into this leadership role because He says you are worthy. You are His child, and if He qualifies you, who in this world can unqualify you? You might suffer from imposter syndrome and believe you're not good enough, but God says you are good enough. Hi, I'm Rika Whelan, Christian leader and workplace culture coach, and together we're going to navigate leadership with faith as our foundation. Let's get started. Grab your coffee or water, keep that notebook and pen handy, and let's jumpstart your leadership. Last week we discussed the first 3, so they were systems, expectations, and staff performance. Now this week I'm going to discuss with you 3 bigger topics, but I believe that they really just go hand in hand, so that's why they are 4, 5, and 6. And so if you have done the organizational gap analysis, you already know what they are. If you have not gone and done the organizational gap analysis yet, it's a free diagnostic tool that you can use to go and score yourself on these 6 areas. So look, I spent a lot of time putting together this diagnostic tool, but that's why I want you to use it. So that's why I'm going to encourage you, because I wanted to put something tangible that people can use to score themselves or to identify gaps in their organization. Because, I feel it is all good and well that you come and listen to a podcast, but what if you don't implement the things that I'm saying? This is already episode 67. If you have not implemented anything that you have learned from this podcast, then please go and do the organizational gap analysis. Whether you have or you haven't learned or implemented anything, just go and do the organizational gap analysis and go and identify which of these 6 areas do you need to focus on today, okay? So yeah, I know I'm hammering on this thing, but it's important, it's free. And so I just really want you to jump in there and go and learn more about about your organization and about the gaps. Look, you can even take this through to your leadership. Like, you can switch it around and say, okay, I'm going to think about this not from an organizational perspective, but from a leadership perspective. What am I doing and where are my gaps? What are the things that I am not doing? Okay, so yeah, good. It's a good way just for you to go and find what do you need to work on. Okay, do you have goals that you need to work towards at work? If you don't, this is the perfect one to start off with. Then it'll identify exactly what you need to work on. Okay, so let's talk about number 4, workplace culture. Now, this truly is a huge topic, okay? But I'm going to try and break it down into green flags and red flags, because I think this is a really good way. We talk a lot about red flags. What about the green flags, okay? So let's talk about those green flags. How do we know if we've got a really good workplace culture? Now, listen, I only mentioned 7 here. There's probably 50 or 51 or 500 that could be good. The same goes for the red flags. But I had to decide, okay, I've got a short podcast episode. Which ones am I going to highlight? And so these 7 are the ones that I decided to highlight for you. Okay, so number 1, people care about each other. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Do people at my organization care about each other? Number 2, people feel safe. Again, flip it into a question. Do people in my organization feel safe? Number 3, people know where they stand, what their role is, what the expectations are. There's no uncertainty. Okay, flip it into a question. 4, there's low to 0 stress levels. Okay, I didn't put 0 altogether because I decided, well, there is going to be some stress at work, right? Stress with deadlines, stress with the project, stress, people get stressed and then that stresses other people out. So, but it shouldn't be an everyday stress, and it should be a healthy stress. So not like, I come stressed to work every single day because I hate this place. No, it should be that healthy stress. Okay. 5, your voice matters. Okay. Or your people's voice matters, your employees. You're able to have a say without fear of retaliation, without fear of discrimination, without fear of being gossiped about, without fear of being devalued or demeaned or degraded, whatever all the D words are. Okay. So that's number 5. You've got a very good workplace culture if your voice matters. Number 6, you can be yourself. Okay, this is a green flag. You can be yourself, obviously within professional boundaries, of course. But if you can be yourself, without fear of retaliation, without fear of discrimination, being degraded, devalued, gossiped about, that's a positive workplace culture. And then number 7, the organization is driven by values and everybody actually stick to these values. Okay, so that is characteristics of a healthy work environment. That's the positive of workplace culture. So I really want you to go and think about, what does our workplace culture look like? And does it constitute a healthy work environment? Okay, but unfortunately, there are also 700 probably red flags that you will know workplace culture is negative and does not constitute a healthy work environment. But I've only chosen 7, okay? Number 1, high staff turnover. Okay, if there's a high staff turnover, it's a red flag. Why are people leaving? Okay, and if people are constantly leaving, so in one environment that I was working in, people were simply leaving because of the pay. It's not that they were not happy. And, like HR asked questions about why are people constantly leaving? And it was because of the pay. It had nothing to do with the fact that they were unhappy. There were so many green flags, but the one red flag that came up was high staff turnover. So go and think about, okay, if we've got high staff turnover, why? 2, people feel constant frustration with one another and with management, and they have no outlet for that frustration. Okay, why do people gossip? Because they're frustrated with each other. Okay, what's the outlet for that frustration? Is there processes in place where people can go and talk to each other, again, without the fear of conflict, without the fear of A, B, and C, and D, and X, and Y, and Z happening? Okay, should be a safe working environment. 3, people feel as if management are to blame for everything and then they also don't take personal responsibility for any of their actions. So that is a red flag. If people are constantly blaming management for everything, but they themselves are not willing to take any responsibility, huge red flag in my books. 4, there is absolutely no accountability towards anything or anyone. All right. So no accountability, and that's my next point, number 5. We're gonna jump into accountability soon. 5, performance isn't measured or rewarded. Okay, so go back to the previous episode where I discussed performance, but you can also go to episodes 34, 35, and 36 where I talk about goals, annual performance reviews, and performance management. Okay, number 6, people are doing the absolute bare minimum and others are constantly having to carry their weight, constantly feeling as if they have to do everything because those people just do the minimum. There's now actually an official term for that, and that's called quiet quitting, where people are doing the bare minimum. They're not getting in trouble for doing the bare minimum, because if they get in trouble, all that they can say is, but I'm doing my job description. I'm literally doing everything on my job description. But we know that because we've not specified a specific thing, we want them to perform high, but sometimes high performance isn't mentioned on a job description, and then we've got no leg or no foot to stand on when it comes to that. And so people are constantly feeling frustrated that they are having to pull the weight of everyone else who's not pulling their weight. And then number 7, there's no clear expectations, no policies and procedures or SOPs, or a lack of communication. Okay. So, look, there's a lot more that can go into this topic of workplace culture, but what constitutes and we're talking about the 6 characteristics of a healthy work environment. Now, workplace culture is 100% one of them. You cannot have And that is what I said at the beginning of part 1 of this, and at the beginning of episode 66. If even one of the 6 of these are remotely out of whack or remotely not well implemented, then something in your organization will feel that it's not right. Okay, workplace culture is a big one. So number 5 is accountability. All right, what does accountability look like in your workplace? Is there any accountability? Are people held accountable for their actions, their behavior, their tardiness, their lack of respect, their gossiping? All right. The best places to work are those that keep people accountable, right? And so recently I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to people, actually many HR managers, and so many of them agree that the best places are the ones who keep people accountable. These are people who have worked across multiple different sectors, big, medium, and small businesses. So they know that the most successful organizations, the most successful businesses, the most successful leaders keep their teams accountable. All right. Even if they are given autonomy, even the most autonomous teams need to be held accountable in some way, shape, or form. And that might be a weekly catch-up on Zoom because or Microsoft Teams, you do not need to meet in a room to talk about your accountability. If teams are working autonomously, just let them send you an update. You can even just let them send you a Vimeo, like a video. Let them record a video saying that this is the update for the week. That's it. So we don't need to do these intricate, like, let's schedule a meeting every Friday at 10 o'clock, or you have to write me a written report, a 500-page written report at the end of every month about what your team has done. It does not need to be like that, all right? Accountability can simply be, hey guys, at the end of every week, can you send me a short 2 to 3 minute video, maybe even 5 minutes, about what you've done this week, what are your highlights for the week? What's worked well? What didn't work well? What systems can we improve? What processes and procedures didn't work? Where do you need help with something? So I'm currently doing an internship with an amazing faith-filled organization. And we have to do this every week. We work autonomously, but every single week we have to send a weekly update. We do it out of our own because that is the expectation. It's called accountability. So even if your teams are working autonomously, you still have to get them to remain accountable towards you. Okay, you are the leader. They're getting paid to do this job. So they need to be kept accountable. Other people who are really terrible at their jobs, why are we not keeping them accountable? Some people have tenure. Like, let's say at a university, they've got tenure. They've been there for 20 odd years. They're meant to retire, but they're not. So why are we not keeping these people accountable? I've spoken to so many leaders who are just saying to me, but Rika, these people are difficult. They don't want to be managed. They don't want to be held accountable. They get frustrated. They've got tenure, so I can't touch them. I get it. I get all of that. But we have got a responsibility to everyone else as well, not just to that one person that's causing a toxic workplace environment for everyone. Okay? They need to be held accountable. And I know it'll be tough for you. But leadership is not always a walk in the park, okay? If it was a walk in the park, anybody could do it. But no, God has called you into a leadership position because He knows that you are worthy and that you can do this, okay? So every single time when you need to go and have a tough conversation with someone, you are going to pray about it and you're going to put on the armor of God and you're going to ask Him for wisdom, for insight, and for supernatural knowledge on how to deal with this difficult person. All right? And I also have an episode that you can go and listen to, How to Deal with Difficult People. And it is episode 24. So go and have a listen to episode 24, Dealing with Difficult People. So I gave you a lot of tips there on understanding why people are difficult and what you can do about it. Okay? But you need to step up. This is your opportunity. This is your time. And I have shared so many times on this podcast how dealing with difficult people have gained me respect with my team and even with the difficult person. All right? I have shared so many times how I have had to be brave and step out of my comfort zone. How to deal with difficult people. It's not hard. It's not, it's not easy. But if it was easy, everybody would do leadership, and everybody doesn't do leadership. But God called you into leadership, okay? And I believe that if you are listening to this podcast, then this message and this encouragement and this push that you need is for you, okay? So if you don't have any accountability, then you've got a huge gap in your organization. Go and do the organizational gap analysis. See where you score when it comes to accountability, and go and take the tips that I've written in that PDF document for you. Okay, so number 6, the final characteristics of a healthy work environment is staff training and development. Okay, now this does not only include professional development. So please get that clear. It's important for sure. Professional development is definitely important. But think about all the other missed opportunities that you've had with your team. Mentoring opportunities, coaching opportunities, all these opportunities, because sometimes we feel like we don't have the time, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people who are passionate enough. But guess where you can start? You can start with the onboarding process. Think about, what does your onboarding process look like? Are you seizing the opportunity to set that person up for success during their onboarding? Are you laying down the expectations? Are you telling them how they're going to be kept accountable? Are you explaining to them about the workplace culture? Are you working through basically these 6 things? Are you telling them how their performance is going to be managed? Are you sharing with them the systems? Are you laying down the expectations? So don't miss the opportunity during onboarding. At some point in time, I changed my onboarding process because we started off with half a day, then we did a full day, then we did 1.5, 2 days, ended up with 2.5 days of onboarding. Because I wanted those people who jumped into my department to be so well equipped by the time that those 2.5 days were done, that when they jumped in, that they were ready. They knew what they were doing. They felt confident. And then I assigned a mentor to them as well, so that it was that mentor's responsibility to check in on them regularly, maybe on a weekly basis, to see how are you going? Do you need help with anything? They could also go to that mentor and ask any questions. But then I also caught up with them. So I caught up with them after 3 weeks, after 6 weeks, after 3 months, and after 6 months again, because I needed to know that what I had done was sufficient for them to be onboarded. It's a perfect training opportunity. But then after onboarding, then what happens? Okay, are they just left to the wolves? Are they left to fend for themselves when it comes to learning and training? And I've actually heard someone say this, well, if they want to learn, they have to take the initiative and do it themselves. I don't have the time to organize all their professional development for them. Okay, but it's more than just professional development. Remember that, yes, what I want you to do is I want you to give them the opportunity to go and seek out professional development opportunities, but you need to be receptive of them and organize it for them. Follow the procedure in your organization to book in professional development for your team that they want to attend. Not only what you think is the best for them, give them the opportunity to attend 1 or 2 trainings a year that they want to attend. Something that meets their goals, something of professional interest to them. Okay, so it can be like, so personal goals, which obviously means professional goals, but annual goals, annual training days, professional development and training days, which is a little bit different because you've got your mandatory training days and then you've got your professional development training days. So once a year, my whole team came together for one whole day. And potentially we could have done it more, but we just didn't have the time. So once a year in January, we came together as a team and I booked in professional development, maybe 3 to 4 different professional developments in the day, team building exercises, and everyone knew that this day they were not allowed to take leave. They had to be present. And if they put in leave for the day, I was going to decline it because it was one day in the year that we could all be together as a whole team. And so there was lots of other opportunities. So every staff meeting, so every month we had a staff meeting, and every second month I would try and do a professional development opportunity. The staff meeting usually went for 2 hours. professional development would be 30, maybe 40 minutes. And then the rest of it, we would do either housekeeping or anything else that was on the agenda that was relevant for the organization or strategically. Okay. So think outside of the box. Think outside of the norm of what you are used to when it comes to staff training and development. Okay. Go and take the organizational gap analysis. Work through those questions, because those questions are meant to make you think. They're meant to give you clues as to where you can make those improvements immediately. Okay. And then once you have taken it, it's going to pop up with the one gap that you need to focus on the most. You're going to be able to download a free PDF, and then on the PDF, there's a link where you can schedule a 30-minute free strategy call with me. It's a no sales pitch session, so I'm not even going to talk about my services. We're just going to look at your organizational gap analysis, see which one you scored the highest in, and discuss what are your next steps in terms of making a change in your organization. And that might actually be going to talk to your CEO, talking to your line manager, talking to your team. But sometimes we get stuck because we don't know where to start. So my point is, my aim is, I want to guide you. I want to give you those first few steps that you need to take so that you know exactly what to do. So that if we meet up again, then you're going to say to me that, yes, these are the 5 steps. If you want me to be the person who keeps you accountable, then I can do that too. But yeah, then you need to take those first steps, come back to me and say, okay, like this didn't work or this worked really well. Thank you very much. Let's work together some more. That's fine. Like, I am going to help you for free because that's what I want to do. So yeah, some of the times in my diary might not completely suit your time zone. So then just email me at support@rikawhelan.com. But you have to go and download the free PDF to get the link inside the free PDF. Okay, so the link to the organizational gap analysis is in the show notes, or you can go to womenoffaithinleadership.com and you'll see right at the top hand side, on the right hand side, there's a thing that says free resources. And if you click on there, it'll take you straight through. Okay, so I'm going to recap the 6. I felt like I went very quickly through that. I'm trying to keep these episodes a little bit more concise for you. So the 6 characteristics that I went through over the last 2 weeks are: number 1, systems; number 2, expectations; number 3, staff performance; number 4, workplace culture; number 5, accountability; and number 6, staff training and development. So go and find out where you scored with these 6 areas or these 6 characteristics. And then come and join us in the Facebook group, where there's a poll where you can come and vote. Where did you score the lowest or the highest in? And let's get chatting with other women of faith that are also in leadership, that are in exactly the same position as you. So yeah, building a community of faith-based, amazing female leaders. I hope to see you in there, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye. So much for listening. If this podcast blessed you in some way, the number one way you can thank me is by leaving a review. Your feedback means the world to me and lights me up every single time when I read it, and it makes me want to keep going. So please leave a review, and your review will also help other Christian women in leadership find the answers they are looking for. So whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the review section and leave that review. Then head over to womenoffaithinleadership.com and join our free Facebook community, and I look forward to engaging with you there.